Today's story could land our guest behind bars.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, her family says she's fallen for a catfish.
I probably transferred about $76,000 for David.
And could be an accomplice.
She claims she became an unwitting money mule in a money laundering scheme.
I would send the money to David in Nigeria.
You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, plus up to 3 years in jail.
She has never met him in person.
Despite all of that, she plans to live with him the rest of her life.
But
there is no house at that address. The phone number is not a real phone number.
is he a fake?
My team did some digging.
We're with the Dr. Phil Show.
We found him.
Who is this mystery man?
He's here today. You don't want to miss this. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yesterday, I sat down with Barbara, who says she has been dating David Chris Jr., a man she met on what she believed was a financial advice website. Now, her daughters, Kathy and Tracy, and granddaughter, Alicia, allege that in the process of supposedly trying to help save Barbara's bank account, David Chris Jr. not only stole her heart, but also her money. And all of this happened without Barbara ever meeting her online boyfriend in person. Take a look.
2.5 years ago, I lost my husband of 44 years. I was so very depressed until I finally met David. David gave me a new lease on life. I met David about a year ago. David is a financial planner. He explained if I would send him $2,000, he could get me a government grant. David lives in Michigan, and a week after meeting him online, he was sent to Lagos, Nigeria for work. David has been in Nigeria for the past year. We text and are on the phone with each other nearly every day. I have never met David in person. A few months ago, David told me he was absolutely deeply in love with me. Truth is, I am also in love with David. He has told me he has $700,000 in the bank, and that is for us to live on when we get married. David also has a 4-bedroom home that we're going to live in. I have helped David out financially. I have sent him about $5,000. David was supposed to come home about 3 weeks ago. He needed $600 to pay for a plane ticket, but a few days later, David was arrested for not paying a hospital bill. I can't wait to meet David face to face.
Here's what we know. He was born in Spain, but moved to the U.S. as a child. But he does have an accent, even though he grew up in the U.S.?
Yes.
Where'd he get the accent if he grew up in the U.S.?
I don't know.
Tell me again how you met him. Your cousin referred you to him?
Yes.
How well do you know this cousin?
Actually, I've never met her.
He's been to 26 countries, and he's 54 years old, and the boy's only got one picture?
He said he doesn't carry the pictures with him.
We don't have Polaroids in our pocket anymore.
I don't know. That's what he told me, and I just left it go at that.
Barbara's daughter, Tracy, and granddaughter, Alicia, say David Chris Jr. does not exist, and she is just being used as a money mule.
Once I was taking my grandma to the doctor. She had this stack of money, and she told me that she needed to make a stop so she could wire it to David.
One day, a detective from the police department showed up at my door. The detective told me he was investigating accusations of money being transferred to Nigeria.
I'm terrified that my grandma is going to go to jail.
My mother could be found as an accomplice to David's crimes. She's been taking money out of the account that was not hers, and she has been sending it to David. To me, that's money laundering.
He did send money into my account. He's getting ready to retire, and he wants his retirement money to go into my account.
And this was money from people you didn't know?
No, I didn't know him.
You had a problem with that?
I had a big problem with that.
Is this sending bells off in your head?
I know what you're saying.
he's got money running through his fingers right and left, but he hasn't got $600 to come home and scoop you up and marry you? I'm not talking about if he's real. I'm talking about if he's a jerk. Her daughter, Kathy, fears this online boyfriend could even be a terrorist.
I've never spoken to David. My mom says he has a Spanish accent.
Thank you, my love. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Doctor.
That does not sound like a Spanish accent to me.
I'm terrified that this man could be a terrorist.
David is not a terrorist. He is a Catholic.
This situation has really torn our family apart.
Tracy wanted to turn me over to the police.
My sister Kathy got up and started yelling at me.
Tracy got up in my face and I slapped her.
He's not who he says he is.
I'm not sure that it's always a human being. They also use voice generators. I mean, people do it with my voice all the time on the internet, but let's take a listen.
Thank you, my love. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Doctor.
So I'm not sure there was actually a human being generating that. And so the question is, who is this on the other end? Well, as part of our investigation to find out more about David Chris Jr., we sent a producer to Ludington, Michigan to visit this 4-bedroom home. Now, let me tell you what I want to do. We've already talked a lot about what you've been involved in, initially in seeking to get a grant that was suspect. I mean, we looked at the math, right? And yeah, that makes you think. In a grant program, they've got people that check math, okay? I've raised some issues about the grammar and word choices. This person moved to Michigan at age 3. And in Michigan, they don't talk like this person talks. I mean, I know a lot of people from Michigan, and they don't say, you know, I thought much about my love of you today. That's not how they speak in that part or any part of this country. But sometimes when you translate English to another language, some of the articles and some of the tenses don't translate exactly right. And so if you don't have someone that's really fluent, they'll get an awkward translation, which means you're not speaking to somebody whose first language is English. I wanted to ask everyone here to be open-minded. I said, you got to be open-minded. And you agree there is somebody on the other end of the line. His name might be David Chris.
Yes.
I don't care if his name's Mortimer Snurd. There's somebody on the other end of this. We just want to know who the boy is, right?
Yes.
And what his history and character is, and what his intentions are with you. I happen to like you. I've known you very long, but you're a very nice person. Well, I want to know who this boy is. And so I want to check him out. So I've been doing some digging. He says he's got a 4-bedroom house on a lake up in Michigan. But this is not that big a country. I got 300 people on my staff. I've got all kinds of investigators and all. And so I sent somebody up to Michigan. We had the address. We sent somebody up there. I wasn't going to just use that. We sent somebody up there. She says her boyfriend gave her the address of a neighbor who lives next door to him and looks after his property when he's out of town. Here's what the producer discovered.
This is the address in Michigan that was given to the Dr. Phil show. David Chris Jr. has said that his friend Amy lives here. Now, Amy allegedly takes care of David's 4-bedroom home when he's not here. The home is supposedly right next to this address. We're going to take a look and see if we can find Amy or anyone who might know David Chris Jr. Hey, we're with the Dr. Phil show. We're looking for Amy.
The Dr. Phil, Amy's not here.
There's no Amy at this address? What about David Chris Jr.?
No.
You don't know David Chris Jr.? Here, this is a picture of him. Do you know him?
No.
We're looking for Amy or David Chris Jr., this man.
Don't know any of them.
Are you Amy?
No, I'm not.
Do you know Amy?
I do not know any Amy.
Do you know David Chris Jr.?
No, never heard of that name.
Hi. We're looking for Amy.
Not here.
She doesn't live here.
No.
David Chris Jr. Do you know David Chris Jr.? David Chris Jr. says he owns a home right next door to the apartment complex that we just visited. We came over here to the other side of the apartment complex. Same thing. No 4-bedroom home. We even looked across the street and down the street. It doesn't look like there are any homes here at all.
Okay, so here's the thing. We had an address to verify. There is no house at that address. The entire thing is a fiction. There's no 4-bedroom house at that address. There's no woman that lives next door to a house at that address. We knocked, there's an apartment building there. We knocked on all the doors. There's not even anybody there that even, she's not there. Nobody even knows her. Nobody's ever heard of her, heard of him, and that house doesn't exist. There isn't even a house of that description on that street in any direction on either side of the street for blocks. I actually got a map to look at the distance between the address to the from that address to the nearest lake, and it's 1.9 miles away. Because he said it was on a lake. Well,
No,
you'd have
he
to
did
drive
not.
2 miles.
He did not tell me it was on a lake. I assumed it was close to a lake. And he did not tell me it was a mansion.
Yeah.
I did not say
So
those
she
things.
had to have a clue. She had to have a clue that this house did not exist because I've searched property records for her before and found nothing on him in Michigan.
Yeah, well, you see, we went up there, we walked on that, where that address would be. There is no house there. There is no house next door. There is no woman who lives next door. And it is a 2-mile drive to the nearest lake. Oh.
Push the off button.
No, that's good. Is that him? Answer, say hello.
Hello.
And later, we've got a journalist at the airport in Nigeria. If David Chris Jr. will go to the airport, he will fly him right home right now, all expenses paid.
Tomorrow, a hospital worker convicted of sexual assault. But he claims he was the one attacked.
You said a female patient grabbed your scrub pants.
Yes, pulled me towards her. I pushed myself away from her.
I walked in the room and saw Jameson committing a sexual act with his patient.
Could this have happened the way he said?
Absolutely not.
But did you actually see the sex act taking place?
Then on Thursday, who's more controlling, her dad
The former manager sued for sexual harassment.
or her husband?
You said, I have imposed my will on her.
You've controlled my daughter.
That's Thursday.
Grandma has told me that David owns a mansion, that he has $700,000 in the bank, and vehicles that he's going to hand over to her.
She told me that David has a house in Michigan on the lake and that she's moving there to be with him.
David has told me that an older lady named Amy lives next door to him and looks after his house while he's been in Nigeria. I really look forward to living this life with David.
David Chris claimed that he had a next-door neighbor, Amy Heather, who took care. Oh, no, that's good. Is that him?
I don't know.
Answer, say hello.
Hello. I can't talk to you right now. I'm busy.
Okay.
Not him?
No.
Okay. Well, we're leaving that on in
And-
case he calls.
Oh, you want it on?
Oh, yeah, let's leave it on. Is it still on the ringer?
Yes.
Yeah, because we have it on in case he calls. Because I'd love to chat him up because I've got some great news for him. So anyway, it was Amy Heather who took care of his home while he was traveling. Well, our staff researched the name Amy Heather in the U.S. who were registered voters and found out that there was one who was 12.2 miles from the address he gave, Barbara, on a lakeside property valued at $799,000. However, after making numerous calls, we were unable to confirm with her that she currently lives at this address. So, I mean, it's not even close. I mean, it's way gone. So there's nobody that has any connection to this address, that has any connection to him, that we can find any hide nor hair of in any way whatsoever. So why do you suppose he would tell you that and give you that information?
I don't know. There was no reason for him to lie to me. So I don't know why he told me that.
Yeah. Well, we checked out this website. When staff members looked into the alleged grant website used by David Chris Jr., we found that it led us to a website with a scam alert describing a similar type of fraud that David Chris Jr. was using to dupe people into thinking he was a financial advisor. By consumers, for consumers, rip-off report. Don't let them get away with it. And what you see here is, this is the website that he was using, and it's identified on rip-off report. By consumers, for consumers, don't let them get away with it. Complaint review, Fed grants, xxx.com, and we're Xing this out because we don't want to show the name of the site, because somebody might just be walking past their TV and think that we're advertising as something good. So I don't want them to even accidentally think we're endorsing this. And category, cash services, federal grants, XXX, pay $2,000 to get a $9,000 grant through bogus website. And this is on the internet that says this is one of the current scams that people are using to get money from people that are desperate. Give us a little bit of money, we'll give you a whole lot of money back. And it's under the government because they put Fed here to make it sound like it's federal. But it's been identified and is put up on a watch site. So the very site that he was using, the very address that he was telling you, the database that he was supposedly checking, has been identified as a scam site to trick people out of their money.
Dr. Phil, when she first heard of this, she called me on the phone and she says, you can get a federal grant for how much ever money you put in, you can get some money back. And I tried, I know my sisters have tried to tell her that you do not have to pay for federal grants. We just keep telling her things aren't matching up, and she keeps making excuses. Oh, she's just so in love with this guy that she just makes the excuse, he's coming home.
I think she believes us in the moment that we're telling her and we're showing her, and then he gets to her. And the next time you talk to her, it's completely changed, and we're wrong and he's right, always.
The phone number is not a real phone number. It's a virtual phone number. And it's tied to a phone number generating service that has been identified as used by scammers. You promised you would keep an open mind.
Yes, I did.
Well, Barbara is still being investigated. She is facing some stiff penalties. Something's going to have to wake her up. We're going to be right back. Now, that's what can happen. That is reality. Want to step in there?
Not really.
I expect not. And later, Barbara has never met David Chris Jr. face-to-face. He's here today. You don't want to miss this.
My mom says I have a mental disorder.
You've been self-medicating with alcohol because your dream got ripped from you. You were accused of planting drugs in this woman's car, did you?
No.
But they did find your DNA on the pills. You say he tried to gouge your eye out.
Gouge her eye? I don't try and hurt you. I just try and stop you from doing anything to me.
She's charging you like a bull, is that what you're saying? And you're having to take her down?
Yeah. Plus.
Your children have been removed from the home.
I'm in Hollywood right now, so how can I worry about my children?
Families in crisis.
I've been worried about your children.
Why don't you take them then, little witch?
I feel like I care about your kids more than you do.
Off before I hit you on stage.
Can I move my seat, Dr. Phil?
Yeah, actually sit her next to my hypocritical mother.
After knowing David for about a month, I started helping him with his business. David would ask me to go to a place where they transfer money. David would text me the name and address of one of his clients that was sending money. The wire transfer place would give me the cash. I would send the money to David in Nigeria. I flat out asked David if what I was doing was illegal. David promised me that what I was doing was not illegal. I did it approximately 1 to 2 times a week for about 8 months. I probably transferred about $76,000 for David. I was happy to help him because I loved him and I cared for him.
Well, that was Barbara explaining how often she helped wire money to her online boyfriend, David Chris Jr. Now, Barbara says David has been stuck overseas assisting people with government grants in Nigeria. But Barbara's daughters, Kathy and Tracy, and her granddaughter, Alicia, say David Chris Jr. is not who he says he is, and they want Barbara to wake up before she gets hauled off to jail for money laundering. Do you get that this is a serious exposure?
Yes, I do.
Because let me tell you, when you start talking about homeland security, when you get to talking about shipping money overseas, and you're in an election year where somebody's looking to make examples out of people, I don't want you to get caught up in the crossfire, and I think you think this is all abstract right now.
No.
But it is not abstract. And listen, I spend a lot of time interviewing women in prison, and it is a harsh reality. And I want you to take a harsh look at that harsh reality. Come with me. I want you to look at something here. I spend a lot of time in women's prisons. Now, if this guy cares about you, that is reality. Now, that's what can happen. Want to step in there?
Not really.
I expect not. Would somebody that cared about you, would somebody that loved you, put even this potentiality
No, they would not.
in your path?
No.
Close your eyes. You hear that? Do not let this man do this to you. Do not let this man drag you or your granddaughter into this. I don't care how good looking he is. I don't care if that is him. Come on. You and I have been around too long to fall for this kind of thing. You can have some old boy telling you how much he loves you and have this in your future, or you can have these people right here. This is about as real as it gets. Is he worth that to you?
No.
Is he worth talking to these three through plate glass?
No.
Is he worth bankrupting your family? You could be looking at fines here. If you have to pay double what you've shipped off to him and then triple to the Treasury, you could bankrupt your entire family. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines and penalties here. Plus up to 3 years in jail if they don't charge you with obstructing justice for lying the first time they talk to you. And where is he?
He probably doesn't exist.
A conviction can result in penalties including a sentence of up to 36 months, a fine of $7,500 or twice the value of the amount laundered, whichever is greater, an additional fine of 3 times the value of the money laundered that's paid to the state treasury. I mean, do the math. These numbers get big in a hurry.
It's scary.
I know. We don't want to visit our mother in prison. None of us.
Well, no.
We're here.
I love you guys, too.
We wouldn't be here if we didn't love you. I wouldn't have wanted to call the police if I didn't love you and try to protect you. I love you.
Well, you guys will be unhappy to know that Barbara says she talked to David Chris Jr. as recently as last night. Well, we found him. That's next. All we got to do is call David and tell him to go to the airport. There's a man standing there right now authorized to buy him a ticket and send him home right now. Why don't we call David and tell him the good news?
I have one photograph of David. He said that's all he has with him. His other pictures are all at home.
And why can't he send you any more than just that photo?
Because he's in Nigeria.
Why can't he use his camera to, like on his phone, to take a picture?
I think he didn't have a smartphone. I do know that Dr. Phil shows sometimes surprise people, and they do bring them home. I hope this is the case for me. I'm very excited about meeting David someday soon.
Well, Barbara says she's in love with a man she met online, but never in person, a man she claims landed her in big trouble with the police when she became an unwitting money mule in a money laundering scheme. But despite all of that, Barbara had said that she was still in love with this online boyfriend, David Chris Jr., and plans to move to Michigan, hopefully to live with him for the rest of her life. Well, he was going to come home recently, but just before he was coming home, he got arrested over a hospital bill. He couldn't pay a hospital bill for $400, and he got arrested. Well, I've actually spoken to the ambassador, the Nigerian ambassador to the United States. I have spoken with him and asked him just straight up, do you arrest people in Nigeria for past due bills? I mean, here's the Nigerian ambassador. I do my homework. I talk to the ambassador. And he said, of course not. You might turn them into a collection agency, or you might sue them or something, but it's just like you do in America. You don't arrest people when they don't pay their bill. He said, that's ridiculous. You don't go to jail. We don't have debtor's prison in Nigeria. He said, you don't put people in jail for not paying their bills. He said, if someone has said they've gone to jail for not paying a bill, it's absurd. They don't, that's just not part of Nigerian law. They just don't do that. So that's not true. Here's the good news. If he wants to come home, we've got a journalist, and I'm probably going to butcher his name here. This is Ben Ezi Amula, and he is joining us on the phone from the airport in Lagos, Nigeria. And I've got Ben. He's worked with us before. Ben is on the phone. He is at the airport in Nigeria. Ben, are you there?
Hi, Dr. Phil. I'm here.
Hey, Ben. How you doing?
I'm fine.
Listen, Ben is on the phone in Nigeria right now. So we're talking to him in Nigeria. He is at the airport right now with my full authorization. that if David Chris Jr. will go to the airport right now, Ben will wait on him there. He will purchase him a ticket. He will hand it to him. He will walk him down the aisle. He will put him on the airplane, and he will fly him right home right now, all expenses paid. No excuses, no problems, no nothing. All we got to do is call David and tell him all you got to do is go to the airport. There's a man standing there right now authorized to buy him a ticket and put him on the plane and send him home right now. Why don't we call David and tell him the good news?
What if he's not who he says he is?
Then he won't come. And then you'll know.
Maybe I don't want him anymore.
Dial the number and let me talk to him. Send him over here. We'll meet him with cameras and a preacher.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, a hospital worker convicted of a sex crime.
You said a patient grabbed your pants.
But a witness says
I walked in the room and saw Jameson committed a sexual act.
that's tomorrow.
He told you last night he was currently in the hospital. We've called every hospital in the city. He's not in the hospital. I've had staff. There are a lot of hospitals in that town. We've called them all. He ain't in the hospital. That's good news. He's been discharged. He's not in the hospital, so he's not in the hospital. He's easy to travel. So Ben's at the airport with full authorization to buy him a ticket and send him over here. We'll meet him with cameras and a preacher.
I don't think I'm interested. I don't think I want him.
Do you mean that?
Yes. I don't want somebody that lies.
Well, I hope you mean that.
I do.
We've heard it before. We've heard it several times before.
I told you if we come here and Dr. Phil proved that he was not real, that was it. And this is it.
I really hope so.
This has to be it, Mom. This has to be it. We can't keep... I don't want what I just saw.
No.
I don't want what I just saw.
No.
Our grandkids don't want what we just saw. This has got to be it, Mom. It's turn around and come back to us.
You want me to leave you alone?
Who, him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Change your phone number.
Dial the number and let me talk to him. You dial it, I'll talk to him. Yeah, hey, David, or whoever your name is today, this is Dr. Phil in Los Angeles, and I'm calling to speak on behalf of Barbara, and she wanted me to pass a message on to you, and that is to leave her the hell alone. The jig is up, buddy. We know who you are. We know what you're doing, and this number's going to change. So long. Hey, Ben, you can go home.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
Okay, thank you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Coming up, Barbara has never met David Chris Jr. face to face and has only seen one picture of him. Well, my team did some digging, and we found the real man in that picture. He's here today. You don't want to miss this. Coming up. This is the photo that Barbara says she saw on the Facebook page labeled David Chris Jr. We do not believe in any way that the man in this photo is a scammer. We believe that he also is a victim, and his photo is being used without his knowledge or his permission. In fact, we found the man behind this image. His name is Kirby. An investigator for the state of Colorado joins us via Polycom. Hello, Kirby.
Good afternoon, Dr. Phil.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Well, Kirby, I so thank you for taking the time out of your day to help us, because your picture, your identity by form of your picture has been stolen. It has been used, which I can see why. You're a very handsome guy. Your picture has been stolen and used with this very nice lady, Barbara here, with a false name, and which I'm very sorry about, but I'm glad to have the opportunity to clear it up. And I so appreciate you taking the time, because I think it very much helps Barbara. This is the man that is actually, this was his picture stolen from his Facebook page. Do you remember taking that picture, Kirby?
Actually, I remember taking the picture, but I'm not on Facebook. I'm not actually sure how they access that photograph.
So tell us a little about yourself so she knows who really is behind that picture.
Sure. Born in Phoenix, Arizona. I've lived in the West or Southwest my entire life. I'm married. I have 2 adult children. And I've been to Michigan all of one time, and I have no idea where this location that you showed earlier is at.
And what do you do for a living?
I work in law enforcement. I'm a supervisory investigator, and I work with people that investigate these types of romance scams all the time. It happens all too frequently, and unfortunately, people get manipulated into these things, and I feel horribly for Barbara and her family and what they've gone through, and just am so thankful that she's going to break the contact with this guy and just be done with him.
Yeah. Barbara, anything you would like to say to Kirby here? I mean, you've had this image and fantasy of this man all of this time, and here's the real man, and it's not at all who you thought it was.
I'm just very sorry that you were taken advantage of like that.
Oh, no, ma'am. What I've gone through is not even comparable to what you've been through. And I'm just sorry that my face was used in that effort.
It was a good-looking face.
I think I'm blushing now, but
Yes, the camera's picking that up quite nicely. So. Kirby, thank you very much for taking the time and helping Barbara out with this. It's been a big help to talk to Kirby.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
All right, thank you so much, Kirby. Ready to get real? Go to drphil.com for advice on relationships, parenting, finances, and more. Plus, weigh in on your favorite episode, share your stories, and find support in the Dr. Phil community. When you sign up for the community, you will automatically be subscribed to the Dr. Phil Show newsletter. Log on to drphil.com today. You know, I want to introduce Michelle Tasco. She is a certified life coach and a financial expert who specializes in helping people get their financial life back on track. And Michelle, we're way off track here, right? I mean, this is a situation where there's a lot of disequilibrium. It's difficult sometimes to recover from this type thing, true?
It absolutely is hard to recover.
And you say one of the big things that people should always look for is you just never transfer funds out of the country, right? Because you lose all hope of control or redress once that happens, right?
Absolutely. There really is never a reason to move large amounts of sums of money out of the country. So that definitely is a major red flag that happened to Barbara.
Right. So at this point, I think it's, you know, you've got to be thoughtful and planful about this, but there is a way to sit down and get your bearings, kind of see where you are and make a plan to get back where you need to be, right?
Yes, there's always a plan. And it's just a matter of taking inventory of where you're at and not necessarily looking at the mistakes that have happened, but looking at the lessons learned and the people in your life that you still have that do care about you. So that's important. Well,
I would love for you to have a chance, we can sit down and maybe you can talk to her about some of the steps that need to happen with that. And
I would love to.
Because you want to get your equilibrium back. And listen, this is a relationship lost, and, you know, we mourn relationships lost. We truly do. It doesn't matter that it was something that was a fantasy. That doesn't make it any less painful. And you guys need to realize that this has been a painful thing for her, and time for judgment is past, and the time for closing ranks and staying close to her and loving her and supporting her is here and now. So I really hope that that's what we'll do. That was my goal when we started out, and let's make that what we do here. I want to thank financial life coach Michelle Tasco and all of my guests today. If you believe you've been a victim of an internet love scam, go to the FBI's special website, ic3.gov. You can log on to drphil.com and share your thoughts on our message boards as well. You can also find me on Facebook and Twitter. We will see you next time. Thanks for being here.